Hey folks, Quill18 here. A lot of my viewers have been getting into the Dota 2 beta more and more and more, and a lot of them have expressed the fact that they really don't know what they're doing, because they may have never played anything of this genre. They may have never played the original Dota, they may have never played League of Legends or Heroes of New Earth, and they feel completely lost, and they've been asking for a very basic tutorial for the game. And this is what this represents. This is for you've literally never played anything like this before, and you need the very basics. This is going to be the video for you. So you start up the game, you're sitting at the screen, and you want to know what to do. You notice there's a play button here, and it's great, you're going to hit find match. Whoa, slow down, don't do that. So what this is going to do, Dota 2 is a game, it's 5 players versus 5 players. Okay, it's a team-based game. If you go into this game and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be lost, you're going to be confused, you're going to ask them questions, and all that's going to happen is everyone on your team is just going to yell at you. And then you're going to walk around somewhere and you're going to die, and then you're going to die over and over and over, and you won't have fun, then you'll close Dota 2, and you're never going to play the game again because you didn't enjoy it. It is worth getting a feel for the game before you go right into the multiplayer. Absolutely, for sure. So before we're going to even go into a game at all, we're going to look at the Learn tab over here. So Dota 2 is what's referred to as, some people call it a MOBA, some people kick around the term like action RPG type thing, or action real-time strategy game. There's a lot of things. You control a character in this game. You have a team, like I said. Your team has a base. The enemy team has a base. Your ultimate goal is to destroy the other team's base. But before you can do that, you have to get your character leveled up quite a bit, earn some money, buy some items, get powerful, and at that point you can safely go and basically take out the other team's base. The games take between 30 to 60 minutes to play, generally speaking, and in that time, every time you start a new game, you start at level 1, and then by the end of the game, the maximum level you can get is level 25, and then the game ends, and you start a new game, and you start over from scratch at level 1. It is not like a long-term RPG thing. But what it means is that every game sort of has a build-up period where you're just sort of gaining up those resources, a middle period when you tend to be going around killing each other, and then the end period where you're really making that push to take out the other person's base. More or less. I'm speaking with a broad brush here. And so what you have here is you have a list of all the different characters, which are referred to as heroes in this game. If you've ever tried League of Legends, you would have seen the term champion instead, but it's all the same thing. These are all the characters you can play, and there will be more when the game gets out of beta, but who knows how long that'll take. And the fact of the matter is, Dota 2 in beta is better than most games are a year after release after being patched. It is a very, very good game. So again, with a broad brush, we're going to say there's 2 major divisions in the teams here. You can see the Radiant side and the Dire side. Generally speaking, that doesn't matter. When you go into a game, regardless of what team you're on, you basically have access to the entire hero pool, so don't worry about that. Then you have a division based on their rows this way. Everything up top here, these are strength heroes. Generally, again, this is a very broad brush, strength heroes tend to be very tough and tend to have a lot of hit points and tend to be fairly durable. They're the sort of frontline people on the team. You can get more information. If you note here, every character's got a role, and that gives you a hint as to what they might be meant to do. That was a little bit loud, I think. Let me turn that down just a tad. So Earthshaker was supposed to be an initiator. He starts fights. Sven is theoretically a ganker. Tiny is another initiator, a ganker. Support. What do these mean? You won't really know what they mean right now. And the fact of the matter is, when you're just starting out, it's not going to matter all that much. Those sort of roles really come into play a little bit. After you've played a half dozen games, at that point you'll start to understand a little bit more. So strength characters tend to be kind of tanky. Part of the reason for that is there are 3 statistics. There's strength, agility, and intelligence. And all characters benefit from all of those things, but the points that you get in your primary attribute increases your basic damage. So as a strength character, you're often encouraged to get lots of strength items to increase your attack damage, and strength happens to give you hit points. With agility, characters, when you buff your agility like that, it has a variety of effects, but it also happens to increase, say, your attack speed. So agility characters tend to be better pure damage dealers. Again, it's going to vary a lot on each character, partially based on their abilities. And then with intelligence characters, intelligence, in addition to increasing their auto attack damage, also gives you a deeper mana pool and better mana regeneration. So you tend to be more of a nuker, spellcaster type thing. And spells don't generally scale up with items. Items you get in the game will increase your regular attack damage, just like punching people or sometimes shooting people from range. But the actual abilities that you use, the spells you use, don't generally scale up with items. So a lot of these characters end up playing a little bit more of a kind of a support babysitting role. They don't really care so much about getting the kills and making a lot of money because they don't need it. So what happens is you'll see a lot of times where someone will get paired up, like Lion will get, and he is classified as a ganker, but he's also a kind of supporty. He's classified as ganker because he's got a couple of great kind of stuns. And he can do a lot of burst damage with his Finger of Death early on when the ganking phase tends to be there. People tend to be a lot squishier, and people like this tend to do really well. They show up, they stun you twice, they hit you twice, and you're just dead because you're very squishy at that time. Well, a lot of times someone like Lion might be paired up with a more of an aggressive late game carry, someone who will carry your team to victory later on down the line. And so playing into those roles really helps things. But again, right now it's a little bit, it'll be a little confusing to understand, and none of those are really really clear-cut roles. There's a lot of crossover, but these are, again, just sort of sweeping generalizations. From this learn screen, you can also figure out what everyone's abilities does. Now I'm going to go and click on the Venomancer because he's actually someone I really enjoy playing quite a bit, and I think he's going to be good for this particular demo. You can see his role is pusher. We'll talk about what that means in game a little bit more, but basically it means he's actually pretty good at pushing forward into the enemy bases. And we'll see why that is once we're in game. So he's got 4 skills. The first 3 skills are your normal abilities, your basic abilities, and you can start to get them right from the beginning. The final skill is your ultimate. You can't take your ultimate until you hit at least level 6. So once you hit level, as soon as you start, you're level 1, you can put 1 point into any of these abilities. You can put up to a maximum of 4 points into any one ability. But you can't do something like, so level 1 I'll put Venomous Gale, and then level 2, or Gall, level 2 I'll put another point, and then 3 another point, and level 4 another point, and it'll be capped. You can't actually do that. Basically the way it works is you can only kind of put it in every other level. So level 1, 3, 5, and 7, I could put a point into this. So the earliest you can max any of these 3 abilities is level 7. And your ultimate is actually quite a bit later because it's like every 6 levels, basically. So here on the screen you can read all these abilities. I won't do that now, but maybe get an idea of, look at a couple of people, try to get a glance, maybe someone you'd be interested in playing, read the description of the ability. Even if you don't read the numbers so much, the descriptions will give you a feeling about how to use it. So now we're going to go back to the play tab. And we don't want to go find a match because that's going to put us up against players and it's just going to be terrible. We could find a co-op bot match. So in Dota 2, there are bots. These are computer-controlled, AI-driven opponents. So in a co-op bot match, it is a team of 5 humans. You will be on a team with 4 other actual human players against a team of 5 computer-controlled bots. And that is a great way to learn. But I'm not going to recommend that for your very first game. For your very first game, we're going to go completely brain dead. We're going to go create a lobby, and we're going to create our own custom game. And before we go and actually hit this button, we're going to go Edit Settings. We are going to change this checkbox, Fill Empty Slots with Bots. We're also going to set a password. I'm just going to type random numbers in here just to make sure no one can get into our game. I'm going to save that, create lobby, and I'm going to join one of the sides. It doesn't really matter which one you join. There we go. There's me. All these other slots will get filled with bots, including on my team. So I'm going to have 4 bots along with me on my team, and the enemy team is just going to have 5 bots, and I don't have to worry about anything. And in fact, if I start the game and it's not going well, I can quit out of it right away. No one's going to be bothered. It's not like you're leaving your team high and dry. It's a very bad thing to leave a game, a real game. But here, no one's going to care. You can quit out, start a whole new bot game instantly, and try someone different if you don't like your hero. So we're going to start this. It just takes a second to find a server, and then start loading the screen. So, there's a few topics we need to talk about. We've talked about the fact that you can gain experience points and level up. And how do you gain experience points? You gain XP by being near something that dies. That's it. There's some variation based on creeps and like okay. Creeps or minions is a term for these neutral creatures, or they're not player-controlled creatures that exist in the game. And most of the experience points and even gold that you'll get in the game will come from killing those things. And you don't actually need to kill them directly to gain experience points. You just have to be near it. And it's a little more complicated than that. We'll talk about it once we get in game. You can see here people are starting to pick some of the heroes. We've got a certain amount of time to pick. I'm going to go ahead and pick Venommancer like I discussed. And I can just click choose him. I could also just hit random. It would give me someone at random. And that's actually a great way to try a variety of different heroes out and just learn some new people. So I'm just going to choose him. And it should actually put me directly into the game. And there we go. You can see the AI characters are all leaving to some lane. I'm going to just sit here in the base. So I've got myself selected right now. I can right click to move around. That's great. You don't actually have to only select yourself. You can say select this courier and move him. We'll talk about the courier a little bit later. And then I can select myself again. If at any point you kind of lose your selection, you no longer have yourself selected, you can hit F1 to select yourself. So if I have the donkey here, and if I hit F1, it's going to select my character. And if I move my screen over here, if I just double tap F1, it'll center the camera on my screen.
As you say.
So now the first thing you want to do at the start of the game is you need to buy some items. Down here is your inventory. You currently have no items, but you do have 603 gold. So we're just going to left click on the shopkeeper. And the shop has tons of items. These are consumables. If we go here, we got attributes. What does that mean? Armaments, what? Arcane. And even there's two tabs up here, basics and upgrades. It's too early. We don't know what this means yet. We're going to look, suggested items. This is great. The game comes with every hero has a suggested items list, and there are starting items here. So we're just going to buy those. Just right click on them one at a time. We're going to start off by just buying these items. And that's all we're going to do. We can hit escape to close the shop. Great. Now you can see the map has 3 lanes. If you look at the mini-map here, you can see there's a lane that goes right up the middle. There's one along the bottom and one along the top. And what typically happens in a beginner game especially, there will be 2 people that go to the top, 2 that go to the bottom, and 1 person takes the middle alone. And the bot, generally speaking, will spread out that way, and usually there'll just be 1 bot top. So why don't you just go top and fill up this lane? The people who are meant to do this sort of solo middle, there are certain optimal choices for doing this, and generally it's someone who's just going to need to level up a little bit faster, because I mentioned before, you get experience points by being around anything that dies. Well, it's also split based on how many friendly heroes you have around. So if there are 2 people in the bottom lane, which there are here, they're going to be sharing the experience points with each other, whereas the person in the middle will get all of it, so he will level up a little bit faster. Don't worry about the specifics about who should go middle or what. That's above the scope of this particular video. So we're top, and that's great, and we can look at what's going on here. And you'll notice there's a big level up here. We'll talk about that soon. So there's 2 enemy heroes. There's a Juggernaut, and there's a Vengeful Spirit up here. You won't have any idea what their abilities are at this point, which means at some point they're just going to do something to you and you're going to die. Try not to freak out too much. So you can see there's health bars above the minions. Again, you just want to be close to them when they die. That is number 1. Number 2 is you want to get some kills. Now, if we look at our gold over here, you can see it's ticking up. Actually, I guess it's going kind of fast-ish. This is so not going to be enough money. You need to make more money, and the way you make money is you have to get the killing blow on stuff. Okay, and you can see these guys are actually going to push the lane into my tower, but I'm actually not too worried about it right now. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later. Obviously, what I'm doing in this video is not how you're going to be playing the game. I'm talking about things, I'm going to be showing off things, and generally doing a horrible job of actually playing the game. Now, normally, if I'm around enemies, my character is going to be doing this and attacking. I've actually got an ability option in the menu turned off, so my character doesn't just sit here and auto-attack. But this is what will normally happen to you. Your guy's just going to sit here and shoot. He might be a melee guy. He'll walk up to them, which will be supremely dangerous because it'll make it really easy for the enemy heroes to kill you, because you're going to be really close. As a melee guy, you've got to play it a little smarter, a little bit more cautiously. Now, you actually want to avoid doing this thing where you're auto-attacking all the time. So what you want to do is, one thing you can do is you can just keep clicking, just keep right-clicking so your character keeps moving and he won't get off any attacks. That's one way of doing it. The other thing you can do is hit the S key on your keyboard. It just stops, and you shouldn't auto attack. If I remember the key bindings properly by default, and I have it slightly customized over here. If it's not S, it'll be H, but I think it's S. I might be wrong. Anyway, and that'll stop you from auto-attacking, but I generally like to keep moving around, and part of the reason for that as well is it makes it far harder for the enemy to predict where you're going to be. If you're just standing still somewhere, well, that's giving them every chance in the world to hit you with things, or pull off some sort of crazy move and get you killed. So we don't want to do that. So we don't want to sit there and auto-attack, which is what people refer to it as, which the auto-attack is just your basic attack. This sort of animation, you're not using any abilities. You don't want to auto-attack constantly, because look at what's happening here. We're actually pushing the lane forward, right? And you might think that's really good. Like, oh, look at these guys, they're running away, awesome, we're going to put some damage on their tower. Except, imagine if we get in trouble right now, how far are we from a safe place? Well, these towers are safe at the beginning. Towers do a lot of damage and will protect you. These two guys are safe right now because they're sort of sitting under the range of their tower. If I were to dive in there and attack them, I would 100% guarantee that I would die because the tower does so much damage. So right now, they are perfectly safe, and we are perfectly vulnerable. In fact, if I look down here in the middle isn't there. Middle could be coming around behind us right now to get a kill. So this is why you don't want to auto-attack. But you do want to try to get killing blows. So what you want to do is watch the health of the enemies and then try to hit them. Oh, I didn't quite do it. In fact, part of the problem, I think, is that I haven't been getting anything. I don't know if my XP is great. But you want to try to get those killing blows. You're going to miss a lot, and that's perfectly fine. The key is to not stop trying, though. You want to try as much as possible to get them. So now we're going to hopefully get this lane pushed a little closer back our way, and I'm going to try to get a killing blow. And one of the funny things about this game is you can actually try to get killing blows on your own units. Now, I can't attack this guy normally, and if I just right-click on him, nothing happens. But if I hit A, it turns my cursor red, and that will allow me to attack something by clicking on it. Now, let me go down here to my fresh wave of enemies. I still can't attack these guys because they're at full health. But if I wait until my own units are low, and you can see I got one hit there, I'll try to get this one as well. Oops, nope, too early. If I wait until my own unit is low like this one, I can start attacking this guy. And again, that was too early to be attacking him. You want to wait until he's just about to die and then try to get a killing blow. I'm doing a terrible job to show this off. There we go. That exclamation mark, that was a deny. And because I got the killing blow, it means these guys couldn't get the killing blow, which means they didn't get any money. They also get less experience points for the death of that unit. They still get some, but not as much. And so this phase, this part of the game here, is about getting those killing blows so that you can make money, and also preventing them from making any money as much as possible. It is hard, but you can do it. And it's a lot easier if you're not recording a video and you're paying a little bit more attention to things. Also, some heroes, there we go, there's another last hit. Some heroes just do a lot more damage than others. There's another one, and they will have an easier time getting those blows. Generally speaking, a lot of melee characters, oh wow, kill the courier, that's interesting. I've never seen the bots do that. A lot of times the melee characters tend to do slightly more damage, which helps to offset that. Also, what you can do is buy... no, it's a hatchet? What the hell is it called? Ah! Quelling Blade! Right, of course. See, I've been playing too much Heroes of Newerth. You can buy a Quelling Blade, which gives you a 32% extra damage on melee attacks versus non-heroes, versus these minions. It makes it much easier to last hit. You also get a bonus for ranged, but it's only 12%, so generally speaking, ranged people don't pick it up. It's the melee ones that do, especially since they need a little bit more help in the laning phase. If you pick that up, then all of a sudden, you've got a much larger range that you can hit these guys and kill them, and get those killing blows. Now at this point, I'm going to back up again from the action, and I'm going to talk about leveling up. I've leveled up 4 times now. What the heck does this mean? Well, first of all, you shouldn't ever let it sit like this. When you start the game, you start at level 1, so you've got one of these already. If I click on here, or if I click O, I can add a skill point to one of my skills. And again, these 3 are currently unlocked. The ultimate I cannot purchase yet until I'm level 6. I can also, if I want, put points just in my stats. and this will just upgrade my attributes and just generally sort of make me better in general, but not give me active abilities. Very few people end up putting points in stats early on. Most people will be dumping all their points into their abilities. And where do you spend it? It's going to vary a lot based on what hero you're playing. Usually you do want to focus, regardless of what your sort of idea is. You don't want to kind of spread them around a lot. Now, sometimes what you do for a character, depending on what hero you're playing, you might go like, you might put 1 point in all 3 of them, but then at that point you tend to focus in one. So you'll go 1, 1, 1, and then all in just one particular ability. Now, if I look at that's the Heroes of Newerth talking. If you look at Venomancer here, the first ability, my Venomous Gall, is a casted ability. So I'm gonna put a rank in it, and then we're gonna use it. I'm gonna exit out of the level up mode. If I hold over the Q, you can see it puts a big circle around me that shows me the radius of my spell. And it's an activated ability. Q is the hotkey on my keyboard, and I can also click to use it, but you want to use the keyboard. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna click on the ground somewhere, and we'll see what it does. Spits a bolt of venom, I guess, in a line. It does damage over time. It poisons people. It also slows them down. And it's a very, very good ability for dealing damage to heroes and getting a lot of early game kills, especially with that slow. Early game, people have very few hit points, so this sort of burst damage from an activated ability tends to add up a lot. And slowing people down so they can't run away is also very good. My second ability is what's called a passive. I don't use it actively, and you can see it doesn't even show up the little W here. It's just always on, and what it does is it adds extra damage to my auto attack. It actually adds damage over time and a slow to my auto attack, so every time I just hit something, it'll also poison them. And you should see here, yes, you see, oh, I'm gonna get murdered here. You see there's that little icon above the head, that's damage over time that's being applied to, well, can I help here? Probably not, probably way too late to help. Yeah, oh well. Too much talking. I'd like to get some of those kills, but it's just going to apply extra damage over time to each one of my attacks. And that's very cool. It's really nice for harassing in the lane phase, I find. So some games, depending on who my partner is, I might get a lot of points in this early on, and then constantly just hit the enemies. I'll walk up, just get within range of one of the heroes, just hit him once, and then walk away. And then let the damage over time tick on them. And then come up, hit them one more time, and then walk away. And just harass them constantly and keep them a little low. Because if they're low, it means they're not going to be in a position to engage on us. It also means they might be open to being attacked by us and killed. And finally, if we get them low enough, they might just be forced to go home. And then they won't be getting any gold or XP. Yeah. My third ability is very interesting here. Very few heroes have an ability quite like this. But this Plague Ward is something I can actually plop down somewhere. And I'm going to, I don't know, put it down right over here. And it just sits here. And it's going to shoot at people who come nearby. It's just going to spit at them. It's got a pretty short cooldown. It also gives us vision over here, which is kind of interesting. So we can see these areas. That's a pretty unique ability. Now I'm going to go and get a little bit more XP here. Oh, might be able to get something done there. Not sure. It doesn't look like she completed damage. But a lot of damage being applied to Juggernaut in general. Oh, actually. Oh, there's the stun. Might be able to do something. There's enough of a over here. I'm pretty low. Alright, I just got to level up, so I want to get my level 6 ability. Actually, now is a good time. Now that I've taken damage, and my mana's a little bit lower as well, let's talk about some of these items that I bought. I have something called Tangos. Tangos are very common items to buy early on. They're very weird. Actually, before I talk about them, I'm going to talk about health potions, the healing salve. It heals damage over time. Last 10 seconds, it'll heal a total of 400 hit points. You click it once, and then you can click on a person, either on yourself or another hero, and it'll apply this healing buff. Rather than clicking on it and then clicking on yourself, what's much better is to just double click it. Actually, what's much, much better is to use the hotkey for this particular item. But if we double click it, it'll automatically use the item on me. You can see the buff here, and you can see it's healing me. Now, healing salves and also clarity, which are mana potions, they're very special in that if you take damage while the effect is going on... There you go, I had to slow him there to save my partner. I'm not sure if I actually made a difference, honestly, but if you take damage while the effect is happening, you lose the buff. So you don't want to use it when you're in a position to get hit, or you'll have wasted the item. However, these Tangos are a little bit different. They don't heal as much, And you can't just double click on them to heal yourself. You also can't use them to heal someone else. What you do is you click on them, and then the use cursor, you actually go over and consume a tree, and then it gives you a buff that heals you over time.
Yeah.
Weird kind of item, but very, very common. They're also really cheap. Again, I just want to level up here. Let me get a couple of... A little bit of a push here just to level up. Come on. There we are. So level 6 now. So I'm going to use this, and now I can finally get my ultimate. And I'm going to show one different type of ability, if I had enough mana. So I'm going to drink my healing salve. And I'm going to back up here so I'm safe and I don't take any damage. Now I've got enough for it. Now, if I use this, this is called a point-blank area of effect ability. It's not targeted. As soon as I hit this button, or hit R on my keyboard, boom! It's just going to put out a huge wave of poison centered on me. It does a lot of damage, and it's got a huge cooldown. You see, I won't be able to cast this again for ages. Your ultimate powers, you use very cautiously. You want to use them when they're going to guarantee a kill, and ideally, a lot of them you save for big group fights. Mine is a good example for something like this. Although, frankly, you know, if it's going to give you a kill at this point, it's probably just worth using. I'm just going to push this lane here and be annoying, and whoa, be a little threat. No, frig it. I'm going to hit this guy back. I got a lot of damage. I might be a little bit at risk from here, but you're gonna do this early on, and you're gonna get murdered over and over and over again. Even I'm playing way too aggressive. Now we've used some of our items. That's great, but hey, look at this. We have tons of gold. How do we get more items? Well, you got to go shopping for that. Now, there's a few possibilities when it comes to shopping. One, I could run all the way back to my base and talk to this guy. Okay, he's the main shopkeeper. He sells the majority of the items in the game. But he's not the only option. There's also, if you're on a side lane, there's a little side shop here, and another one down here. Now, these side shops don't sell all of the items. They only sell a handful of them. They've got 2 pages, just a handful. You can always search up here, which is great. And if you right-click on a suggested item over here, and it's possible to buy from the side shop while you're here, it will buy it from there, so that's great. But let's say we've got an item we want to buy that isn't available from the side shop, and we'd rather not run all the way back. Well, this is where the courier comes in. It looks like one of my bots has actually upgraded this courier, which is very nice. This courier, and we're going to wait for the bots to finish using it, because, I don't know. This courier can purchase items for you and can deliver them to you. Where am I? I'm safe, right? Okay, good. So I'm going to send the courier back to base. Actually, we're going to wait until he gets there, and then we're going to talk about him again. There are also 2 extra shops in the game. They're called the secret shops. And they sell very expensive items. Well, apparently the Orb of Veteran is cheap. But a lot of very expensive items that you literally can't get anywhere else in the game. They tend to be used for some higher-end late-game items. Alright, so I'm going to switch back to the courier here. I'm just using F2 to select him very quickly. And I'm going to use him to go shopping. I'm going to say, alright, I want some boots. Nope, you stay here. I'm using him. Fighting over the courier is not very polite, but they're only bots. So the boots were fine. I can just right-click on them. But let's look at this Wraith Band. Now, the Wraith Band is a very interesting item because it is a recipe item. It is an item you have to build from other items. You can look here. You can see the Wraith Band is actually comprised of a circlet, a Slippers of Agility, and there's a checkbox here to show that I actually already own this, and finally a recipe. If you have all 3 of these items in your inventory, they will combine into a Wraith Band. And completing these recipe items, the recipe items tend to be fairly powerful, often have fairly unique abilities. In the case of the Wraith Band, what they actually mostly do is shrink the size of your inventory. Well, they're still better, but the Circlet gives you +2 to all attributes. The Slippers of Agility give you +3 to Agility. And if you also purchase the recipe, it combines in something that gives you +3 to everything except Agility, which gives you an extra +3 on top of that. Also gives you a bonus to damage. So it's a good item to complete. So alright, we're going to do that. And how do we buy it? Well, again, I could buy the Circlet and I could buy the Wraith Band, or the recipe. I can also just right-click on the Wraith Band itself, either here or up here. And what it will do is it will auto-complete the recipe for me. It'll buy the Circlet and the recipe, but it won't buy the Slippers because I already own those. That's pretty good. I still have some money left over, but let's deliver our goods. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're just going to hit F. Down here, transfer items, we click that. It'll tell the courier to run to us and deliver all the items. And then we're also going to hit R to make him go faster because this is a flying courier. And after he delivers the items, he will automatically run back to the base. where he's safe. So we're going to collect those. You're going to see they're going to get dropped off. Boom! Now we have boots. We run a little bit faster.
A touch of venom.
And we have our Wraith Band, so we can do a little bit more damage. I'm going to talk about another very, very important item now called Town Portal Scroll, which I'm going to buy from the side shop. It's also available in your base. Town Portal Scroll. How does it work? Well, we're going to buy one, and then we're going to use one. It allows you to teleport to any friendly building on the map. That includes, say, your base itself, and also one of the outer towers. Now, what you do is you click on it once, and then you target a tower, and you can even target them from the mini-map, and it will teleport you there after a couple of seconds. One important use of it, if you just double-click this, it will teleport you right to your base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teleport to this tower down here, and I'm going to help my team push the middle. Now, there's a cooldown on those. You can't use them all the time. They also do cost you some money to use. So if you use them excessively, you might not be able to afford items. But they are super important. In fact, most people believe you should never, ever be without one. Because you never know when you might need a quick escape, or you might need to assist your team somewhere. And we might actually take the brunt of this kind of poorly. In fact, oh, I wish I could teleport away. So that was a bad engagement, but it allows me to talk about death. You can see here I'm currently dead, I'm grayed out, I don't exist on the map, but I will respawn in a few seconds. The higher level you are, the longer it will take to respawn. You also have the option to buy back, spend some money to instantly come back to life. And this becomes more of a thing later in the game. Big downside to dying, in addition to having to just sit there and twiddle your thumbs for a little while, is you lose gold when you die. Very, very bad. You never want to die with a whole lot of money, ideally. So what you want to do sometimes, if you're going into a dangerous situation, you might want to do some shopping right away. Just click here and buy some items. And you're going to say, well, what if I'm not at the shop? Well, let me show you. I'm going to walk away from the shop. So I'm no longer in the shop. Okay? I can't grab any items from there, and let's pretend the courier's in use, or I don't have the time to switch to the courier. I can still buy items. Let's say I want to complete, oh, this Ring of Basilius looks kind of cool. I want to buy that. It's a recipe, it needs a few things, but I'm just going to right-click on this, and I'm going to buy it. Oh, what is this window that just popped up? It's your stash. Back at the shop, in your base, you have a stash, and that's where items that you purchase when you're not at the shop go. And I can buy some more. Let's say, oh, these power treads. Oh, an upgrade on my boots. I move faster. I get a bonus to attributes. That sounds good. So I'm going to finish that off. I'm going to buy the rest of the components for that. Great. Oops, I actually just bought on the courier, which was not my intention. You put that in the stash. I can't do that? Really? That's strange. Alright, hold on. I'm going to have to get the courier to deliver this stuff to me very quickly. I didn't realize I had the courier selected. So I was shopping with the courier. Alright, so now it's later on. The fight is over. I want my item. So here's what I can do. I can walk over to the base, and then I can grab the item out of my stash by clicking, say, grab all, for example. But also, I can tell the courier to grab my items. The retrieve item button, which is bound to D, I click that. He grabs the items from my stash, and then deliver it. And that is a great way to shop. Now, there's a lot of action all the time. What if you're going into a hairy situation and you don't have time to open this up and like, oh, what item do I want to buy? You want to do this sort of shopping when you've got a moment to breathe. And so what you can do is you can drag items here to the quick buy area. So let's say the next thing I want to do is buy this Aghanim's Scepter. It's a very expensive item, but that's the next thing I want to buy. Well, I can take this and just drag it down to this quick buy slot, and what it's going to do, and you can see, this scepter requires these items to build. Well, it puts all those items in my quick buy slot. And now I can close, I can wander around the map, and these stay there, and whenever I have the money, the borders will light up gold, and I can just right-click on them, and they'll be purchased. They'll be purchased in my stash if I'm not at the shop. Or they'll go right into my inventory if I'm at the right kind of shop that sells them. You can also bind this to a hotkey. If we go into our options, which is this gear over here, and here we go, purchase quick buy. I have it bound to the apostrophe key. I don't think that's what the key is by default, so check it yourself. And whenever you have the money, you can just whack that key. Well, it's not going to buy it for me right now because I don't have enough money. But you can just hit that button and it will just buy the next item on the list that you can afford. Fantastic! Now, you may have noticed this item has a little red X down at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if you could notice it there, maybe a little bit here. Oh, it's not an X, it's an S. And if you mouse over it, it says requires secret shop. To buy this item, this point booster, you have to be at the secret shop, either right here, which I can ping on the map by holding down Alt and then clicking, or clicking in here. You can see it pings the map. You can use that to communicate with your team. Or here, there's 2 secret shops in the game that you have to be there to purchase. So that's that. There's also, this is the, what do they call that? The sticky buy? Let me check. Purchase sticky, which I have bound to semicolon. Again, I don't think that's the default key. And I usually put my town portal scrolls there because they are an item I buy all the time. And they're also a good emergency item. When I'm literally about to die, I just mash the semicolon key, and you're going to see it's going to buy these. I'm just going to hit it now, and it purchases one. It's going to purchase the second one. And there you go. Now it's in my stash if I'm just about to die. That's my panic button. But you can also use it if you go to a side shop and then you just hit semicolon a couple of times and purchase it. It's also nice if you're being chased. So, that is pretty much that. Now, again, the way you win is by killing the enemy stronghold. The enemy headquarters, their ancient is what it's called. Which is this building here for the Dire. And for the Radiant, it's this building here. This is what you have to kill. But before you can kill it, you have to get all the way through. You have to kill this tower, then this tower, then this tower, and then you have these 2 barracks. If you kill these, your minions become much, much more powerful, and they can help you push that much more effectively. Generally speaking, you don't do this all in one push. You get one of these towers and you back away. Then you go to one of the other outer ones, then you back away, and so on, because they're the easiest to pick off. Then once you've sort of got that outer layer done, then you're going to go to the second layer, and you're going to continue to push in and in and in. And then at some point, you'll be able to take out these barracks, and you'll probably run away, because at this point, you're in the opponent's base. It's so easy for them to reinforce, or to run back here and heal, or to do any of these things. So there's a big hit and run. Or if you fought out here in a big team fight and half their team is dead, that's when you go for those things. And then eventually, and of course the same thing exists in all the other lanes, and eventually you're going to take out these 2 towers. And then finally the Nexus will be vulnerable. The Nexus is actually a League of Legends term, my apology. But the Ancient will be vulnerable, at which point you kill that and you win. That's it. That's the game. Super easy. The challenge is in all the dying that you're going to do. But that's where you learn, right? That's okay. I'm going to die here by Tiny. Oh! These bots are being way too passive. They're not on the hardest difficulty mode. I keep trying to suicide myself, and they're just not participating. Fine, I'll just harass you then.
Watch this spot.
Just antagonize him until he decides to come and kill me. This is really weird, actually.
A touch of venom.
Maybe when you go co-op, are they set to the highest difficulty? There we go. Now, come on. Oh, he still didn't kill me. Oh, he about to get help. Whoa, about to get lots of help. No! Don't play like I do. Really don't play like I do. But if you do decide to play Venomancer, what you may enjoy doing is maxing out this rank. And it depends on how you want to play him. If you want to play him as a killer, get lots of Q, get lots of stuff that buffs your agility, and you'll do tons of damage and be a great killer. I actually like to play him as a pusher with lots of Plague Ward, and a lot of things that boost my mana regeneration, things like that. And then I find it really good against bots. And then I actually try to play fairly passively myself, and then I'll come and try to push the lanes, because these things do great damage to things like towers, and they help you push lanes and all kinds of stuff. Is the courier available? Great. Take my town portal scrolls and then fly them out to me. I should talk about wards. We've got one here, for example, an observer ward. You can purchase these in the shop under the first tab. Actually, I should talk about these other tabs in a moment. Observer wards. There's also sentry wards. Observer wards, you buy them. They cost 200 gold. You get a stack of 2. And they last 6 minutes. You plop them down somewhere like here, and they give you vision. And they let you look for things like these runes, the double damage rune. If I pick this up right now, I will so not be a team player.
Middle tower has been denied.
There we go. For the next X number of seconds, I do double damage, which is awesome, except I'm super low health, so I'm not being able to do anything with it. But these are a good place to put it. Part of the reason is this river is a major thoroughfare. People walk up and down this pretty often. This is a way for people to get into sort of your jungle, your foresty area. So this gives you great vision over that, plus the rune ward spot. There's another really good spot for it over here, and on the other side of the river. And then there's various places in their jungle you might want to ward just to give you some vision there. You may, oh, here's another good spot. And if you buy a sentry ward, now these wards are invisible to the enemy team. Sentry wards don't last as long, but they reveal invisible units around them. So for one thing you can do is you can use these to counter other wards. Now this is not something you're going to run into very much against low-level players because they're not going to ward very often. But it's also good as a defense for certain stealth characters. That being said, Dust of Appearance may be even better for that. You just use it and it reveals an area kind of in where you use it right then, reveals invisible. It's sort of a good emergency button. So there are two major item groupings here. There's basic, which tends to be the cheaper items that don't require, they're not recipes. They're just basic items. They don't need anything else. You just buy them as is. Some are fairly expensive, like a Blink Dagger, which is a core item on a lot of characters, including, you can see it's one of the suggested items on Venomancer here. Then there's the upgrades. These are all things that are built as a recipe. You can see the Wraith Bands, which we talked about earlier, all the way down to like really expensive stuff like the Scythe of Vice. Look at this. It's a bunch of really expensive items, and some... I'm dying. Some items can take multiple layers. In fact, if we take a look at this ring that I was looking at, there we go. The Ring of Aquila is built from a Wraith Band and a Ring of Basilius, both of which are in turn their own recipes. So sometimes you get this sort of chain of things. And what's the best thing to do, generally speaking, is look at one of the high-end items that you want, usually from one of these lists. Say, oh, I really want a Manta style. And then just click on it. It'll show you everything you need to make it. You need a Yasha. Click on that. Oh, okay, Yasha needs more stuff, and then you see, okay, those are basic items. You just kind of buy things in that kind of order. So you can go do your own shopping, but early on, these recommended items are going to be perfectly fine. So I think that covers just about everything I wanted to talk about. Other things you might care about to see on the screen, this is the duration of the game. This is the score of each team in terms of kills. It's not always a complete picture because one team might be down on kills but have more towers. And some heroes are much better late game than others. And if your team has more late game potential, you might have a bad score early on, and then it's still fine. You're going to come back and be totally okay. Looks like this is a case of us not being particularly okay. But I'll get a kill out of it, so, you know, who cares about my team? No, like 2 levels. Nice. Let's put some more points in the queue.
Yes.
And over here, you've got your own score. This is the kills that you had, the deaths you suffered, and also assists on any other kills you participated in, and followed by last hits on minions and denies on minions. And if you, if we look down here, does it not tell you last hit denies? Really? What am I not? I'm sure there's a place somewhere. I'm just not thinking about it right now. But the carry type characters, the ones that are going to carry you at the end of the game, they need to get a lot of last hits. In fact, sometimes they spend half the game doing nothing but farming creeps. Sometimes, and there's also minions, there's neutral minions, neutral creeps in the jungle as well. I'll come and show you here. All these little green triangles, you can go and kill them as well. Early on, you might have a hard time kind of soloing them. Because they're going to be aggressive against you, right? If I hit these guys, they're going to come and they're going to be hitting me, and I'm going to be taking hit point damage. And early on, that's going to add up to a lot. Some heroes, they're pretty uncommon, but some heroes can very comfortably jungle right from level 1, or you know, maybe from level 3 or something like that. And if you're a good damage dealer, once you've got a few of your damage dealing items, you're just going to rip through these really quickly, and it's a great way to make a little bit of extra money. Highly recommended. Oh, there's someone in the jungle over here. I don't know if we're going to be able to catch him.
A touch of venom.
No. Woo! Looks like he got engaged on by someone in stealth or with a Blink Dagger. I'm not sure. I'm just going to get out of here. Oh, there's one other notable neutral minion to talk about right over here on the map. That's Roshan. Roshan is a huge, beefy beast of the monster. You're going to basically need your entire team there for, and you'll have to be kind of at least in your teens, generally speaking. In fact, are these guys going to do him now? No. And killing him is very good because he gives a lot of gold, but also he drops an item that if you pick it up and have it in your inventory, when the next time you die, you will, after a few moments, resurrect right on the spot, pop right back up. Effectively gives you 2 lives in a fight, so it's a very powerful, very potent item to grab. And it can sometimes, the entire game can sometimes change just based on people grabbing Roshan. You have to have a fairly coordinated team, but it is quite nice. And a lot of times what you do, if you go in there, and let's say the other team has a ward here and they know that you're doing it, and they come in from behind and kill you because you're already halfway dead because of fighting Roshan, that's bad. So a lot of times what you'll see is people will win a team fight, and half the other team will be dead, and then they'll come over and take this, and the other team won't be able to contest it. So that's that. That is this tutorial. I hope that you guys find it helpful, and certainly don't be shy about asking questions. I'm by far not an expert in this game, but most of the basics that you're going to run into as a new player, I can almost certainly address. So that's that, and see you in game. Bye-bye.